I don't know. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So I think the audio is better now. So if you can hear me, please just put yes in the comment section so I'll know the audio is back. Okay. So the topic is about how to build your own original project as a data analyst because most of the time some people don't have their own original project, which is actually a problem for them. As a data analyst, when you submit your CV, it should contain your portfolio. Or some people they finish their boot camp, they finish learning, or if you say do self-taught, they finish that, and at the long run, they can't build something of their own. So I'm just trying to take us through the process I use, and if you understand this process, it will also help you in the real world. This is what I also use in the real world. So there's nothing new to it at all. So anything we are doing here now is something you can do in the real world because I'm trying to bridge the gap between, from the classroom to actually in the real world because by not knowing what to do is one of the things that lead to imposter syndrome. And the meaning of imposter syndrome is that feeling like you're not good enough or feeling like you are not at that level where you can actually do something of your own. And it has held a lot of people back. So people can apply for job because when you ask them, you have been learning data analysis for 6 months. Okay, so what is the end result of everything? Or where's your portfolio? They don't have. And it's because they don't have a system or they don't know how to build this thing. So that is what I'm trying to work on today to show people how to build their own project. And it's about having a step or having a method of doing it. And the way it starts is that the first thing is that you need to identify or understand the problem. So if you work in the real world, there will always be a problem the company you are working with is trying to solve. And if you are just a beginner or you finish learning and you want to build your own portfolio, identify a particular problem you want to solve or identify a particular niche or industry you feel like you can relate with. Do you understand now? If you identify a particular niche or you identify a particular industry, it might be healthcare, it might be finance, it might be e-commerce, it might be anything. Do you understand now? So if you are working in the real world, you are working with healthcare, you are working with finance, you are working with e-commerce, you are working with maybe telecommunications, there will be a problem the company is trying to solve. So you have to identify that problem or you have to understand that problem. And the next thing is starting at the end. So you have to start at the end. The starting at the end is that what is the end goal of everything you are trying to do? So is it just one-off result or one-off analysis you are trying to do for them, or you are going to build a dashboard at the end? So if you are going to build a dashboard at the end, you shouldn't have a list of things that will be in the dashboard, a list of reports and metrics that will be in the dashboard. So that is starting from the end. The next thing is obtaining the data. You need to be able to obtain the data to know where to obtain the data. Is it going to be an external data? Is it going to be your company's data? And also, after that, you identify the resources, additional resources you need to use. Sometimes you might need some additional data or you might need some access to some other things that will help your analysis to go through. Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Please, guys, let's like the live and let's move it up and share it to our friends also trying to data analytics. So the next thing is that you do the work. So by doing the work, it means that you should then do the analysis. Do you understand right now? Doing the work means doing the analysis. Thank you, Joy. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So doing the analysis, and after you have done the analysis, the next thing is present your minimum viable answer. So the minimum viable answer is just like, if, for example, people that are in tech, there's something they call minimum viable product. So it's not the actual product, but it means something you can take to market that would actually demonstrate, like a proof of concept, that this is actually what we have and this is what this thing is going to do for us. So your minimum answer could be a dashboard, could be a spreadsheet or something like that. But for this live, what we are going to do is have a dashboard as our minimum viable answer. So we can present this to stakeholders, and when stakeholders sees it, then we'll then have conversation about it. So the conversation will then lead to maybe if we need to iterate. So the meaning of iteration, thank you, Ibrahim, I really appreciate. Thank you. So the meaning of iteration is that sometimes you need to go all over the process again, because in the real world, the analysis never ends. You will not finish one. So it will be functioning for a period of time, and then at a point you need to maybe improve or update the whole dashboard again. So it could be technical, it could be business. So if we go through all this one after the other, so like I said, identifying the problem. So if you like to analyze some healthcare data. So for this live, we are going to use an healthcare data, and for you, you might have another area of interest. So you just follow the process we are doing now to build your own other area of interest. So for example, what we'll be using for this live session is an healthcare data. So after that, if you have another area of interest, you can pick that. So in real life, you and your stakeholders will have discussion of the problem, the problem you are trying to solve in your organization. So for example, now it is an healthcare data we are working on. So it might be, for example, an hospital. So you and your stakeholders will have a meeting. So that is the way it works in real life. So you and your stakeholders will have a meeting and discuss about the problem, and then the problem is to have a dashboard to solve the problem for us. So you are welcome, Ruby. So the dashboard is to solve the problem for them. So after identifying the problem, the next thing you move to is start at the end. So while starting at the end, we need to first define the metrics. So in our dashboard, we usually have metrics like a particular numbers we are trying to measure. Maybe we are trying to measure maybe number of readmission, number of discharges, or number of complex discharges and stuff like that. So you and your stakeholders will have something you would agree on that you want to measure. So for example, now what we'll be looking at in our dashboard, we have something we call average daily discharge rate. So as I'm saying all these things, don't get scared, because I'm going to take you through the process. So even if you are going to build your own dashboard or you are going to build anything, so if you follow this process, at the long run, you'll be able to build something. So the first thing is that the stakeholders have said, okay, maybe the metrics they want to look at is average daily discharge rate, and they want to look at average length of stay. So if there's any other important analysis we can add to it, they've given us the freedom and say, okay, if there's any other important analysis, you can add to it. So guys, let's like the live. Let's like it. We are still less than 1,000 likes. So let's like and let's share. So the other thing again is that we can maybe identify relationship between features. And also, if you have more insight, if you add more insights to the dashboard, it can facilitate data-driven decision for the stakeholders. Sometimes there are things that we would analyze and the stakeholders might not have seen before. So this might facilitate data-driven decision. So the next thing is obtain the data. So understanding your data source. In the real world, your company will actually have a data warehouse or a database where you go to and pick the data. But you that you are just starting out, that you are just learning, so usually you probably go to Kaggle or different data places or data set markets to get data. So for this live session, we are going to get our data from Kaggle. And after that, the next thing is data delivery. So in the real world, we need to know how the data will be delivered to us, because you have a data warehouse. Do you have access to the data warehouse? Who are those in charge of the data warehouse? Usually we have data engineers, we have data administrators, like database administrators that are in charge of the data warehouse. Would they be able to give you access to it? Or if it is an external data, where are you getting the external data? And is it daily delivery? Is it that some people are sending you the data every day? or how are you getting the data? So that is about obtaining the data. You need to understand all those things. So, but for this live, we are going to use Kaggle to get our data. So the next thing is identifying additional resources. So identifying additional resources, like if there's other data sets that could enhance our analysis, or probably in the real world, like I said, there will be a lot of meetings going on. So your meeting notes and documents, you can bring them together and see what are the things you have discussed. Has there been any changes in any definition? Do you understand now? And also security or access. Like I said before, you need to have some access, some level of access to some data warehouse. So the next one is doing the work, which is data inspection and exploration. So once you get all the data, the next thing is you do the work, you do data inspection and exploration, you do data cleaning and research, and the subject matter expertise. So what happens is that sometimes you don't need to know everything. So the way you start is that you do some research. For example, we are talking about average daily discharge rates. Most of us here might not have heard something like that. So in the real world, it will happen like that, whether you change career or something like that. So there will be some definition you've never heard of before. And the best way to do this is to research. So once you research, you get some insight into what you're trying to analyze. So after that, we present the minimum viable answer. So we have our dashboard and present to the stakeholders. And after the stakeholders have looked at it, we can iterate if there's need to, or we set up another meeting to review the performance of the analysis. So sometimes you have to set up another meetings again to see how your analysis have been performing. So we have technical review, which is to see, is the dashboard actually working? Is it working for everybody? Do the right stakeholders, do they have access to the dashboard? And also the business impact of it. Is it delivering what they want the dashboard to deliver? Do you understand right now? So that is the process we'll be going through. And the first thing is that if we go back to identifying the problem, like I said, we are going to use an healthcare data. So after that, we are starting at the end. What we want to look at is how to do something like how to get what is our average daily discharge rate and average length of stay. So, and if you have any other important analysis that we want to add to our dashboard that will facilitate data-driven decision, we'll do that. So the next thing we'll then do again is obtain the data. So let's go and obtain the data right now. So for this live session, I said we are going to use Kaggle. So if we go to Kaggle, so let's do kaggle.com. So if you go to Kaggle, I don't know if everyone can see this. So let me see. So if you go to Kaggle, so the first thing you need to do. So actually, there will be time to join on this, or if you have your PC, you can start with your own. And this is going to be uploaded back to my YouTube channel. So for people that would like to go over it all over again. So I'll be showing you the data set I'm using. Do you understand right now? So if you go to Kaggle, I just want to obtain the data set right now. So if you go to Kaggle and click on data set, and what I'm looking for, let me search for hospital. And if you see something like, we are seeing something like maybe hospital readmission. So in Kaggle, there's usually going to be some information about the data set, or if you come down, you see the features of the data set. So if you look at each of all these features, we have the age, the time, and everything like that. And it is not going to give me what I want, because we want to talk about something that has to do with discharge. We want to talk about something that has to do with hospital discharge. And we're looking at this data set. It doesn't have something related to that. So let me try and go back a bit, and maybe if I see something, this is another one, hospital admission data. So if I look at about the data set, so if I check the column, so this one will actually work for me. This is going to work for me. And by looking at this, I can see that there's serial number, there's medical record number, there's date of admission, date of admission, date of discharge. So I can actually download this data set. So if I download this data set, guys, let's like the live. We are less than 2K likes. Let's like the live. So if I download this right now, it should save on my PC. And so let me just extract into somewhere different. So we also have our live goal, guys. So let's send So this is the data set right now. So it is in CSV format. So if I open it and see what is inside, yes, this is going to be recorded and it will be shared on my YouTube channel. So this is the data set I got from Kaggle, and it's a very large one actually. So like I said, what will be better is to import this into SQL Server. So we are going to import this to SQL Server. So can we get the data set to work along? The data set is actually from Kaggle. So if you follow I don't know if you are seeing the screen or do you want me to zoom it for you? So this is the data set. It's actually from Kaggle. So I'm not using something different or something hidden. So when you go to Kaggle and just search for hospital admission data, so you should see it there. So can we see it? That is the name. So that is the name of the data set from Kaggle, hospital admission data. So I'm not, let me see if I can share the link in the comment section. So that is the link. I've pasted the link into the comment section. So if you like to copy, so the next process I just want to move to right now is that we have our data set and it is in CSV format, which I've opened up. It's in CSV format, which I've opened up here. So what I want to do is take this into SQL Server because I want to do some data transformation. And again, it's actually a good practice to understand how to do data transformation in SQL Server, because when you get to the real world, most of the work you'll be doing, your data will actually be living in the database, which if you don't understand how to, get data from maybe Excel, actually there will be data loading into the database, but you have to be convenient or you have to be comfortable working with SQL Server. So from there, we then link the SQL Server back to Power BI to build our dashboard. So that is what we are trying to move on to now. So let me launch my SQL Server. So guys, let's like the live. We are less than 3K. Let's take it 3K. Let's like the live. So this is my SQL Server right now. So the point what we are trying to do here now is we are going to move our CSV file that we have downloaded from Kaggle. We are going to move it to SQL Server. So by moving it to SQL Server, we then connect the SQL Server to Power BI. So that is the next thing now. So the first thing is that you create a database. So right click on database and create a new database. So let me say Hospital Discharges, Hospital DW. So Hospital Data Warehouse. I just name it that way, Hospital Data Warehouse. And once we have that, if I refresh my database right now, so and I check this, so I'm seeing this here now, Hospital Data Warehouse that I've created. So once I created this, the next thing is to get tables into it, get the data into it. So for now, there's no data into it in the data warehouse. There's no data there. So what we are going to then do is do tax. So we'll go to tax and we go to tax and then we click on import a flat file. So CSV are flat files. So we click on import a flat file. So let me close this so that it will actually work. Because if I don't close it, so let me do save. Avoid changes. Save your changes. Don't save them. So next. So if I go to this, so this is the data that I've downloaded from Kaggle, and so I can change the table name if I want. So for example, for me to get it better, so let me just change the table name to admission data and then click on next. So for now, there's no changes. I'm not making any changes to this. So I'll just click on next. And for all this now, I'll click on allow nulls, because sometimes if you don't click on that, it will not create some columns. So I'll then do next. And let's see, hopefully there won't be any error. What's the warning? So let's see. Refresh this. So our table is created now inside the database that we created. So we have our table. Tobiloba, thank you so much. I really appreciate. So are we following, guys, or is there anything you want me to? So this is our table in the database, this one right now that we just created. We created this database, Hospital DWH, and we have this, our table admission data that we have created. So for us to check, we can right click on it and select top 1000 rows. So you see what we have right now. We have the same data we downloaded from Kaggle. We have it now in our SQL Server. So the same data we downloaded from Kaggle, we have it in our SQL Server right now. So So the next thing we are going to move on from here is that we need to check if there's any duplicate in our data. Just like we have been seeing before, we need to check if there's any duplicate in our data. And one of the ways to do that is to actually identify what would lead to duplicates, to actually identify what would lead to duplicate, because it is a very tricky something to do. If you are looking for duplicate, how are you going to check for duplicate? So to check for duplicate, we can look at the data, and by looking at the data, we can see we have serial number, we have medical record number, we have date of admission, date of discharge, we have the age, gender, and many more, type of admission, the month, the duration of stay, the duration of intensive unit stay. And if we keep going through that, we see outcome, and we see some other medical um, record that has been collected, like something like heart failure, something like the anemia. So there are most of all these columns that will not be useful for us. Do you understand now? So some of them might be useful for maybe further analysis, but for now, there are some of them that will not be useful for us. So to then identify duplicates now, what we first look at is that, do we have recurring medical record number? And if you have recurring medical record number, is it actually possible for us to have recurring medical record number? So for this kind of settings, for healthcare record settings, it is actually possible to have recurring medical record number. And the reason why you have recurring medical record number is because, people come and go outside of hospital. So, some people get admitted today and they stay like 3 days, discharged again. After like a month, they come back again. So their medical record will be repeating. So that one is settled. So the next thing we then need to look at to identify duplicate again is to see, do we have anything like, maybe if we see the date of admission and date of discharges. So for every record, we should not have a repeating date of admission and date of discharges. So if we are trying to identify the duplicate in this now, we need to work together with the medical record number, date of admission, and date of discharges. So for a single record, the date of admission, date of discharges has to be unique to that medical record number. So the moment we have another record number with the same date of admission, date of discharges, then we are very sure that is duplicate. So that is the first thing we need to do. So once we can identify duplicate, the next thing is then start cleaning the data. So, but for now, we look at when looking at the data now, we can see that there's no much debt here in this data. So the only thing we just need to be sure is that, do you have any duplicate? And to get that, let me clear this. So to get that, we are going to write another SQL code to check the number of duplicates So the first thing is to we just select our record number. We select our record number, our medical record number. So select from the table we just created, which is the admission data, and we select our record number, we select our date of admission, and we also select our day of discharge. And this one now, we need to order by the order by the medical record number. So if we order by the medical record number, we have the record number following. So the first thing now we have identified is that there's a null in our medical record number. So this record is a null. So we don't know who this is associated with. Do you understand right now? We don't know who this is associated with. So we have to delete this record, or we have to ignore it. It's not like we are going to delete it from our table. We have to ignore it. We have to ignore this record. And again, by doing a visual inspection of this data, I'm not sure if people are seeing what I'm saying right now. So by doing a visual inspection of this data, if you look at this record, I can see this record 989. So it has an admission on 2018-05-12 and discharge 2018-07-12. It has another admission, the same dates, 2018-05-12, 2018-07-12. So we are already seeing that there's a duplicate in our data. So by using that, we're already seeing that there's a duplicate in our data. So if we have this duplicate now, we don't know how many duplicates we have. And that is why I said we should bring this to SQL Server to do transformation. Because imagine it is a data warehouse where people are entering medical record. There will always be, data quality issue. So some of this now, they are data quality issue. So you can't delete anything on the database. So you, as a data analyst now, you should be able to know how you are going to identify the duplicates, and how you are going to avoid them. So that is one way. We can do visual inspection. That is one way. So, but as we have done the visual inspection right now, what we want to do is that we want to identify more. So when we identify more, we then want to we want to ignore the duplicate. So how do we identify more? So to identify more, we can do what we call, there's something we call CTE, common table expression. So we'll write something like a subquery. Guys, let's like the live. We are still less than 5K. Let's like the live. We are still less than 5K. So we have something we call common table expression. So the common table expression always starts with the with keyword. So you said with. So let me say check duplicate. Let me just call this one check duplicate. You give it a table name, check duplicate. So, and you do as. So before I write this, let me show us something before I write this. So I can actually select all this. As we have selected all this now, we can actually start identifying which ones are the duplicates. So by using the special query, the window query, we have what we call window query in SQL. So the one I want to use is that, what I want to do is that I want to be able to identify all these errors. So for example, this one is this 989, and for row number 7 and 989 for row number 8, there are two duplicates. So I just want to put, okay, this is record number 1, this is record number 2. So I will know that this one has 2 duplicates. If it is 3 duplicates, it will list them 1, 2, 3. So I will know the number of duplicates each record is having. Do you understand right now? So I will know the number of duplicates each record is having. So for me to do that, I'll just put the window keyword, which is row number. So this one, it doesn't take any arguments. The function doesn't take any arguments. So we'll put the other keyword over, and then we'll do partition by. So we'll do partition by. Partition. Am I not getting this spelling? By the medical record number and also the date of admission and also the date of discharge So sorry, you can't see. Sorry, this is. Can you guys see it now? So let me move on. Date of admission, date of discharge, and date of discharge. So this will now be ordered by medical record number, and we'll close this. Let me bring this down so that we'll see. So, and we'll close this as number of duplicates. So let's run this first. So this is what. So guys, let's share the lives. People are not sharing and people are not liking. So let's share and like the lives, please. Let's do that, please. Let's do that. And we also have our live goal. Nobody has even done anything. Just only few people that have done that. Please, let's share the live and let's also, support the live goal. So what we have done right now is to see which ones are the duplicates. So if you see this 989 that we identified earlier, the 989 that we identified earlier, we can see this is the first record, this is the second record. So the second record means that this one is the same as the first one here. So this number 2 is the duplicate. So if we go down, we also see more records. So for this line 20 and line 21, we can see that those two are duplicates. So this is the second one, which is the duplicate. So we have many of them like that, which are the duplicates. So we have many of them like that, which are the duplicates. So we have them like that. You can see we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So those are the 2 are the duplicates. So if we have more than 2, if you have anyone that has like 3 duplicates, then we'll see it there. So what we then do next is that we need to ignore these duplicates. We need to ignore these duplicates. So for us to be able to ignore these duplicates, then we need to wrap everything into what we call common table expression. So we build a virtual table where we will then select only the ones that are not 2. We select only the ones that are not greater than 2. So when we select the ones that are not greater than 2, it has automatically filtered out. It has automatically filtered out the number of duplicates. So somebody's saying I should order by a number of duplicates. So it's still the same thing. If I do that, to still give the same thing, if I do order by number of duplicates, so, but the only problem we have now is that the medical record will not be in the same, in ascending order. You see that the medical record is just not in ascending order, and that is not what we are trying to identify, or what we are trying to get. We want to get the duplicates by making sure that we have the medical record following each other. You can see now that this is 989, this is 1006, this is 1060. So this one will just first give us the ones that are 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So, and then at the bottom, it will then give us, it will then separate. Actually, it can work like that. Do you understand right now, Innocent? It can work like that, but I just like that when the medical records are in ascending order, it will allow you to identify where there's no, and you'll be able to see if there's any other mistake. So if we change this back to our medical record, you see that the first line we see here now, we see that we have null. So if there are many of them like that, we'll be able to identify the nulls and everything like that. So that is, first you have identified our duplicates. We have our duplicates now. We have identified them. So the next thing is that we are going to select all the records that are not duplicates. So we are going to select all the records that are not one. So, and how we are going to do it is that we turn this thing now, we turn everything that we are seeing here, we turn it into a virtual table. So once we turn it into a virtual table, we'll then be able to select the ones that we have. And the way to turn it into a virtual table is to wrap it inside what we call common table expression. So, and to do common table expression, we start with the keyword with, and we can give it a different name. So we give it a different name. Let me just say check duplicates. Check duplicates. So as, and then we'll open bracket and we'll come here to close bracket. So we'll come here to close bracket. So as we have come here to close bracket right now, so the next thing we are going to do here is then we then select, then write a select statement. So I'm selecting everything from the name of my virtual table. The name of my virtual table is the check duplicate. Thank you, Mobs Kotor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I did put a video out to say I'm going live today, so but this will be recorded and once it is available, you see it. So from this one, check duplicate. So the next thing is that we are going to then filter out the ones we don't need. So where the number of duplicates is less than or is equals to 1. Let me just say the number of duplicates will be equals to 1. So I don't want to select anything that is greater than 1. So the topic for tonight is that you are building an original project. So as a data analyst, you build your own original project so that you can be able to build a list of, you have a portfolio project you can present to recruiters, and you also be able to beat imposter syndromes. You know, you finish the learning, you don't know where to start from, you don't know how to start from. So this is what I'm just doing right now to build, to bridge the gap between classroom and what is happening in the real life. So if you run this right now, there's something I want us to first pay attention to. So if you look at the bottom here, I don't know if people also, if you are following along, if you look at the bottom, you see that in our record, we have 15,757 of all the records we have right now. We have 15,757. So if you run this query at the top now, definitely all the records should reduce. The record should reduce. So let's run the query and see. Hopefully it doesn't go into an error. I know it's going to go into an error. The other clause. So we need to remove the other clause in this place. So let me just remove it and bring it to this place. So let's run it again. So right now, the number of records has reduced. Thank you, Mobs Kotor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So guys, let's support the live. Let's support the live. Put some more like and share the lives. So the number of records has reduced right now. So we can see that we have 14,541 out of this 15,757. You see the number of duplicates that we have. So right now, again, we are still having null in our record. So I just want to ignore this null. And I'll say, I'll just put and. Medical record is not null. So if I run this again, so you should remove that one record that is null from our record. So and we can see that we have 14,545 540 rows. So I'm just trying to show us, can we see it? I'm just trying to show us the number of records that we have right now. So I'm showing us the number of records that we have from right now. So this is the code right now. So, and what the code does is that initially, if it will first, this is the order we've written the code. We select the medical record number. We selected the medical record number, the date of admission, date of discharge, and then we use the row, the window function in SQL to go over each of the row and see which one has duplicate. So we are counting the number of duplicates. So if you have 3 duplicates, it will count 1, 2, 3. If you have just only 2, it will count 1, 2. So for now, it has only counted, I think, 1 or 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So after that, we wrap it into a virtual table, which we do with the help of common table expression. We did that with the help of common table expression. So with the help of common table expression, we were able to then wrap it into a virtual table and then select our records and ignore the duplicates. So the reason why we are going through this stress is that in the real world, like I said, the data will always be coming into our database. It's not like most of the time you will not be importing data from Excel, or it will not be static data. The data will always be coming because, for example, let's say this is an hospital data. When they are discharging and admitting patients, there will always be data quality issue. So once you have written this code, it will always capture any duplicate and ignore it. This is the function of this code. It will always capture any duplicate and ignore it. So you should try and get comfortable with writing SQL code, especially when you are extracting data from data warehouse. You write a functional code, something that is reusable. Do you understand right now? You write a functional code, something that is reusable. And all these things, you don't need to memorize them. You just need to understand what the codes are doing. So sometimes if you don't know what code to write, you can use ChatGPT to generate some code. But you are not allowed to put your data. So that's why I'm not, you'll be seeing some videos, they'll say, I use ChatGPT to analyze. In the real world, it doesn't work like that. Nobody's going to employ you and they give you their data and say you should upload it to ChatGPT. Because once you upload people's data into ChatGPT, that data becomes ChatGPT's own. It's no longer your own data. Even though you have it, it becomes ChatGPT own. And as a data analyst, one of the things you would tend to understand is that when you're applying for a job, especially in the UK, they'll be talking something like data protection. You'll be hearing different laws about data protection, general GDPR, general data protection regulation, and all those stuff like that. If you mistakenly, thank you, Mo Digital. I really appreciate it. So if you mistakenly put somebody's data into ChatGPT or into a third-party software and it leaks, it is prison. No, you are going to prison. So you should try and be comfortable with trying to understand this code and probably use ChatGPT or Copilot or maybe DeepSeek to, streamline the code. Do you understand right now? You can just vibe with it. So for example, let me just bring up something for us so that we can see. So if I go to ChatGPT and so I can say, okay, so if I say I have duplicates, I can say I have duplicates in my data. So I'm not going to give it the data. I'm not going to upload the data because if you start uploading data, ChatGPT will analyze everything. But in the real world, it won't work like that. So I have duplicates in my data. So the data columns are medical record number, DOA. So it will understand DOA. and DOD. So, and DOD. So write a SQL code to identify the duplicates. No, I'm just explaining to people what ChatGPT can do. Do you understand right now? So see, it's already writing different things. So it's even writing a different code, counting and everything like that. So you just need to use ChatGPT to brainstorm. So you are not allowed to upload ChatGPT data into ChatGPT. So it is very important you understand that. So that is the way it is now. So right now we have our clean data. We have our clean data. So initially I only selected 3 columns just for me to be able to streamline everything I'm working with. So now I will change the code and I'll select all the data. I'll select all the columns. So if I run this again, so we have more columns in our results. If I run this again, so you can see now that we have more and more columns in our result right now. So at the long run, at the end, we have what is showing the number of duplicates that we have. So we have what is showing the number of duplicates. So right now, we don't need to do anything more again. So the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to then bring this into Power BI. We are going to bring this into Power BI. So to do that now, so what I'll just do is copy this code. I'll copy this code and I'll open Power BI. This is the code, the new code that we have just written. So this is the code that has helped us to clean our data to remove the duplicates from our data. So can you see it now, Sammy? So I don't know why my Power BI is taking longer to load. So I don't know what's wrong with the Power BI. Why it's taking longer time to load. So this is our Power BI. This is our blank Power BI. So normally, the next thing I'll do is that I'll click on Get Data in Power BI. So in Power BI, I'll click on Get Data. And once I click on Get Data, there are different options to get data. So what I've been doing before, the transformation I've been doing is in SQL Server. So I'll just click on SQL Server. So my YouTube is 9 to 5 data, 9 to 5 data. So guys, let's like the live. We're almost at 8K now. Let's take it up. Thank you guys. Thank you. And we also have our live goal. Let's try and support. So once you try to connect to SQL Server, there are 2 different connectivity mode, which is very important you understand. There are 2 different connectivity mode. There's the import mode and there's the direct query mode. So it depends on the performance of your of your server, depending on the company's server. So for now, we are going to go with the import mode. So the difference is that if you use direct query, you don't need to set up a refresh schedule for the data set. So for people that know what I'm saying, so when you are building a dashboard, you have to set a refresh schedule so that the dashboard keep refreshing to get the latest data. But if you are using a direct query, you don't need to do a refresh. The Power BI does that behind the scene, or when you use direct query. But if you use an import mode, you are actually importing the data. So you have to set a refresh query for Power BI to refresh the data all over again. So that's the difference between the two, because sometimes this kind of questions come up in interview, especially if you are applying or interviewing for a role of maybe business developer or Power BI developer. They will ask you what is the difference between the import and direct query mode. So the import mode, you have to go and set the refresh schedule yourself. In direct query, there's no need to set a refresh schedule. The thing automatically refreshes itself. So those are the two different things. So here now, we need to put our server and put the database. So in this advanced option right now, we then can write our SQL statement. So that is the way we are going to do it. We are going to supply our SQL server. The database is optional, but it's very good to supply database. And after that, we are going to supply our SQL statement, the SQL code that we have written. So we just have to go back to our SQL code again. So the way to get your server name is when you click on the connection key on your SQL server. When you click on the connection key on your SQL server, this connection key, when you click on it, there's this connection key at the top here. When you click on it, it will then bring you these details, this pop-up box. So you get your server name, just copy your server name. And once you copy your server name, go back to your Power BI again, and you put the server name. So the next thing is the database name. So the database name is always at the top here. If you see the top here, you get the database name. So you can copy this. So we'll go back to our Power BI, and we are going to paste it there. So the next thing again is that we are going to then paste our SQL statement code underneath here. So this code that we have written for SQL, we'll just copy this code and send it to Power BI. So let's paste the code. And if everything is okay, so this include relationship in the column, just leave it as it is. And if everything is okay, it should load our data. So we have our data in SQL in Power BI right now. So we have our data in Power BI right now. So this is the same thing we have in our SQL server that we have in Power BI right now. So the next thing is that in Power BI, you click on transform data. So let's click on transform data. So when you click on transform data, it will actually bring something like this for you. So the reason why we are transforming data is that if you want to change anything in this data set, or if you like to make amendments to it, so every other things we'll be doing now will be in our Power BI. So what I can do is just change the name of the query. I'll just change the name of the query to, let me say, hospital data set. Just say hospital data. So just change the name of the query to hospital data. So you can change the name of the properties here, hospital data. And once you are done with that, the next thing is you close and apply. So it's taking time to load. Don't know why it's taking time. Why is it taking time to load? So I'm using SQL Server. So it's SQL Server that I'm using. It's SQL Server 2022 that I'm using. So, and this is what we have done so far. Let me see the Power BI again. Has it loaded? What's the problem with the Power BI? I don't know why my Power BI has been hanging since morning. So let me just close it and we'll come back to it again. So SQL Server is open source, not really open source. It is owned by Microsoft. And what they have done is that you can download the developer option of SQL Server. So if you download the developer option of SQL Server, you'll be able to do anything on it. So you don't have to make any payment or anything. So you'll be able to do anything. So let me open the Power BI again. I don't know what's the problem with it. Yeah, this difference between SQL Server and MySQL, there's no really actually different apart from the fact that they are owned by two different people. So SQL Server is owned by Microsoft, and MySQL is an open source software actually, and most of the time MySQL is used by people that are maybe web developers. Do you understand right now? So because it is open source and it easily integrates with PHP. Yes, it easily integrates with PHP. So that's the difference between the two of them. So, but most of the time, people go, if you are learning data analysis, I usually advise that you go with SQL Server because that is what you will be doing, or that is what you'll be doing in the real world. It is what is used in the real world. It is the enterprise version for the real world. So let's see why this thing is not loading. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you for the rose. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's what I'm teaching right now. I don't do personal teaching. I just come online to teach, and that is all. But if you need mentorship, there's difference between coaching and mentorship actually. So that is what I'm doing now. Mariam, thank you so much, Mariam. Guys, let's support the live. Please let's take it to 9K. And also, we are almost there. Let's take it to 9K. So let me do import from SQL Server, direct query. So what's the server name? Copy this. So database. So let's transform this. Don't know why it's taking time to transform. Admission data. So apply. So if we check our data, our Power BI, we have our admission data in our Power BI right now. So the next thing is that we'll start building the reports one after the other. And to build the report, what we try to look at, let me see, where's our, okay. So what we are trying to look at is how we are going to get average daily discharge rate, average length of stay of the hospital. So all these things now are related to discharges, and they are also related to the length of stay. So if you check our Power BI again, we would see, if you check the data, we will see that we have discharges data, which is date of discharges, and we have the duration of stay. Duration of stay is the same thing as length of stay, and we have duration of stay in intensive units. So I've been doing the talking since morning. I just want to entertain some more questions before we continue. So if you have any question on the SQL Server, so just indicate in the comment section if you'd like to come up with a question. Thank you, Abraham. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So guys, let's like the live. Let's support the live. Do you have anybody with any question before we move to the Power BI? Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, I think I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. So my question is, all this thing that is done in SQL Server, can it be done in Excel?
Yes, you can do it in Excel. And the reason why we are not doing it in SQL Server is that, like I said, I'm trying to bridge the gap between the real world and what you learn in your boot camp. Do you understand now? In the real world, the dashboard is something that will be giving real-time analysis. Do you understand, right? It will be giving real-time analysis. So the data will always be coming to the SQL Server. In the real world, the data will always be coming to the SQL Server, which you have to extract in one way or the other and connect to a dashboard, which is our Power BI. Do you understand now? So that is why we have written a code that will always check for duplicate. Once it has identified the duplicates, it will ignore them and bring only the ones that we need. Do you understand right now? So it's an automated process that way. Instead of, like I said, in the real world, there's an hospital where they input all these data that we are just looking at, this the discharges, the admission, and everything like that. So it goes into our SQL server, which is the database that stores everything. Do you understand now? So the SQL server will then connect to Power BI.
Okay. So another question is, how do you know? Like, can we do all the cleaning in SQL? Like, how to identify duplicates, remove null?
Yeah, that's what
when do you know the one to apply? I don't know if you get my question.
Yes. I don't know when you joined the live. So at the initial stage, I was already showing something like, if you obtain your data, then you need to do the work. So it starts from inspecting your data. So even in the real world, if you are new to a database, you go to the database, you explore the database. They will give you data dictionary. What are the things that they are recording in the database? You understand now? So by just inspecting the data, you will see whether there's an error or not. So whether there's an error, whether there's no error, the first thing you need to check for is duplicate. Because you are giving a number, you are giving people something, and if it is wrong, maybe the number is inflated or deflated, it will actually affect the decision that needs to be made in the real world. So checking all these things are steps that whether you have to memorize it, whether you have to write it down, but it's a step you have to do. When you get a new data, you see if there's any transformation you need to do. Sometimes you see some dates, they come in maybe in American style, but you are in the UK, you have to then format it back to the UK style. Or you see some date that comes in maybe Wednesday 4, 2022. So you have to change it to what is the actual number of that Wednesday. Do you understand now? So that is all about inspecting, exploring, and data cleaning. So you have to always check for duplicating your data.
Okay, so last question, please. So I kind of understand the basic queries in SQL, like the basic one. So this one you use, this CTE, views, advanced SQL function. I'm not really familiar with it, but I just want to know what's the best way. Like, where can I practice? Or it's just by doing projects. That's how you get familiar with it.
Yes, it's by doing project. That is how you get familiar with it. And like I used to tell people, you have to understand the basic behind this thing. So if you joined when I was writing this code, the first code I wrote was this one that I highlighted, which is just simple. It will select every column and then it will look over the row and check for number of duplicates. So you can also, interact with ChatGPT. Like, okay, I have this problem, generate a SQL code for me, and it will generate a code for you to go through. Do you understand right now? So
okay.
The next thing is that I then looked at it as, okay, I have seen a way to identify duplicates. So all these things now, from all these duplicates that we have seen now, this one will generate everything with duplicates. I just want to remove the ones that are not duplicates. So what I need to do is like a logic process or thought process. If you are using Excel, when we see the ones that are duplicates in Excel, we then start maybe selecting them or deleting them and put them into another sheet.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you understand now? So in SQL, it is the same way. But instead of putting them into another sheet, we put them into another virtual table. It's a table, but it is not created or stored in any of our database. That is why we call it virtual table. So from the virtual table, if you look at this top here now, you see that the name is check duplicate. And when I'm writing another select statement, I wrote select from check duplicate. And I just started putting the condition, the number of duplicates, because this place will bring me all the duplicates, the 1 and 2, and maybe 3. The number of duplicates, and also I filtered out the nulls, the ones that are not, the ones that don't have any medical record number. Do you understand now? And I ordered by the medical record number. So it's just like a thought process. But when you start doing enough projects, you practice and brainstorm with ChatGPT, you definitely get something.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Fifi. Thanks so much. Really appreciate this gift. So, is that your question? Is that all your question before I move to the next person?
Yeah, that's my question.
Okay. Touch, how are you?
Yeah, good evening. How
Good
are you?
evening. I'm good.
Okay, good work. You're doing a very wonderful work. This literally the practical aspect of data analysis, like what you were doing at the office.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's like a workshop. But my question is, my SQL,
Okay.
my SQL server. Some people use my SQL to break down
Okay.
their data.
Okay.
So would you say in companies like in the UK, which would you, and US and Canada, how would you say would they use my SQL?
The okay, is that the question?
No, the other one. Maybe you start with that.
Okay, let me answer this first. So we then move to the. Or do you want to just state all the question and I answer everything together?
The next one is based on DAX in Power BI. I saw your when you concatenated everything.
Okay.
And extracted the data and put on Power BI.
Okay.
But when you were transforming them, and there was this left-hand side where you renamed the data to administrator or something. Or when is the best time to use DAX?
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. So your first question is that there's MySQL, MySQL, they are all serving the same purpose. They are database management software. You understand right now? But it depends on the industry you are working with and the environment you want to use it. Most of the time, people use MySQL for software development, web development. Do you understand now? And if possibly you are working with maybe e-commerce stores and stuff like that, you might have to interact with MySQL. But most of the time, what they use is SQL. Most of the time, and especially in the UK because they are Microsoft. Another thing is that the vendors supplying all these things really matters because they kind of monopolize the system. For example, if you look at Microsoft, they have Microsoft Excel, they have Microsoft SQL, they have Power BI, they have Teams, they have everything. So they have a single environment where when you subscribe for the whole package, it's easier for you to subscribe and get the whole package instead of you to subscribe for Excel, subscribe for MySQL, So the language are all the same, but it just depend on the industry you are working with. Do you understand right now? And for like I said, Microsoft is the major vendor here in the UK. Anything you are doing in the UK is Microsoft. So I don't really know of US, but what I just know about US and Canada is that they are really they are more of like Google. So they use Google ecosystem. Do you understand now? Google has its own too. They have Google Sheets. They have Google BigQuery.
Instead of using Power BI, they might use Tableau.
They use Tableau, exactly. So Google has its own version of BI too, but they don't really use that in the UK. They use Tableau. Do you understand right now?
Yeah.
So that is the difference. So like the whole ecosystem, everybody has what they use. Do you understand? So, and for the other one, I've not written any DAX query at all. What I just did was use connect my Power BI to this SQL server because that is the way you actually be doing it in the real world.
The process. Okay.
So the process is just this way. So let me go back again. So if you go to the Power BI, you can click on Get Data. So once you click on Get Data, you see SQL Server. So you click on SQL Server, it will then give you this option. So this option is that you put the server name here and you put the database name. So is the difference is that if you don't put any database name, if you put the server name, it will list all the database in the server. But it's always good to target a particular database just to, limit the amount of work you have to do. And the other thing again is that it will then extract the data exactly. Like the exact data that is there, that is what is going to be extracted. Thanks, Fifi. Thanks, Fifi, for the gifts. Thanks so much. So the exact data, that is what will be extracted. And that is not what we need. What we need is to be able to get data that are not duplicates. So I will then come here and put my SQL statement. I'm not sure you are seeing it. You see?
Yeah, I can see.
Yes, I will then put my SQL statement inside this box. So the SQL statement that I've written, this is the statement that I've written. So it's just a single code that will take care of everything. So it will always, when there's a new data in the database, this code will take care of it. And it will always
Where did you write the code? On the, where are you copying it from?
So this code, I wrote it.
All of that, okay.
Yes, you just copy everything, all this code. Once you copy all this code, and you come back to the SQL server and you paste it, so it will give you something like this.
Extract all of them.
Yes. So it will extract everything that it will return whatever the SQL code is returning, and this is what the SQL code is returning. Do you understand right now? So this is what the SQL code is returning. So right now we have just only import our data into the database. We have not done anything. We have only import our data into the Power BI. We have not done anything on the Power BI right now. So it's just now that we are going to be moving into the Power BI, but I'm not sure we can do that again tonight because I would like to entertain question.
Power BI is very heavy.
Yes, and I would like to entertain question because I don't just want to, go through what other bootcamp are doing. So,
yeah, I understand.
So,
I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Solly, good evening. Are you there?
Hello, good evening.
How are you? Good evening. How are you?
I'm alright.
Yeah,
Thank
just.
you very much for the privilege.
You're welcome.
Please don't mind me. Let me just be very brief.
Okay.
I'm new here.
Okay.
And I'm new to data analysis too.
Okay.
So I was trying to apply for jobs online, and I got to know that I need things on data analysis. So, and I want to learn.
Okay.
So I did accounting.
Okay.
So they were like specification like this SQL, this Excel, Python, and things like that. Like you need to know it. So I want advice on the preliminary level.
Okay. Yeah, so I think you are just joining the live. So I've talked about this before. If you having accounting is actually a very good background for you to transition into data. So what you just need to know is first you need to understand Excel. Second thing, you need to understand SQL, and the next thing is you need to understand Power BI. So the other thing again is that you if you feel like you want to move outside of accounting, but I'll say you are in a good position to look for financial analyst role. There are roles that are called financial analyst. So sometimes they come as a database data analyst, but at the long run, it is more of financial analyst. And the things they will kind of request. So the things they will kind of request are things related to what you have, your background. Do you understand right now? So as a beginner, you don't need to start with Python or anything. Start with data, Excel, SQL, and Power BI. So once you learn the job, as you move on, you can start learning Python. And Python is mostly for people that are, aiming higher. So if you become a senior data analyst or senior financial analyst, you need to understand Python to be able to automate some process. Do you understand now? To be able to automate some process. So if you the best way to get into it is to start with Google certification. There's this Google course on Coursera. So if you go there, you see the first course, which is it's going to give you an introduction of what data analysis entails and the softwares and the skills you need to get. So once you get that, then you then go out and learn the skills that I've just mentioned, the tools that I've just mentioned, which is Excel, data, SQL Server, and Power BI. So from there, you then have to have your own original project. Do you understand now? And this is what I'm trying to do, trying to teach people how to get their own original project. So I don't know if that has answered your question.
Oh, thank you. You mean I need to go for Google certification, right?
Yeah, just to give you an overview of what data analysis entails, because it's not something I can just give you a brief explanation that is about analyzing data for stakeholders to make informed decision.
Yeah, I know that. So we taught that in school.
Do you understand now? So, but there's more to it. There are things that you need to just understand. So once you understand all those things, it will be easier for you when you are learning Excel. It will be easier for you when you are learning SQL. It will be easier for you when you are learning the Power BI. Do you understand right now? So you understand why you need to use Power BI. You understand why you need to use SQL. You understand why you need to use Excel and the likes like that.
Thank you very much. I would go and get informed knowledge about the Google stores now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Can I take you as a mentor on this journey, please?
Yeah, there's no problem. Like I said, a lot of people have been asking. So what I just do is just ensure that once you are learning, do you understand now? We can always come back to whatever you have learned, and if there is any issue on it, then we can go through it together. But what I just let people know is that there's a difference between coaching. What I'm doing now is coaching. Do you understand now? So there's a difference between coaching and mentoring. So what I can just do is point you to, go and check this website, go and do this stuff, or improve on this, or this analysis you have done, you could have done it better this way. You understand now? So that's just the difference.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So you can send me a DM if you need any issue, so we talk better.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So Sally, how are you?
Good day, sir.
Good evening.
I started learning data analysis. Oh, I'm hearing my voice. Anyways, I started learning data analysis in November, so I finished February. It's a 3-month course. So I applied for a job on Career.
Okay.
And then I got to the next stage, and they sent me a test strictly on SQL.
Okay.
That's when I realized that my SQL is not strong enough, and I could not go further.
Okay.
So I want to ask you that I feel embarrassed because I could not go further, and I do not want to submit a ChatGPT kind of work.
Yes.
I'll be ashamed. Yes, ChatGPT gave me the answer, but I do not want to.
Yeah, I understand your point. Yes.
So, what do you think I could do to get better with SQL?
So,
because I feel like I need something better. Like I need to know it.
So to get better with SQL, you just have to practice and practice and practice. And there's a roadmap. If you send me a message, I will send you the roadmap. So there's a roadmap of how you learn this thing. Do you understand right now? And another thing I usually tell people is that all these tools are just to make your work easier. Do you understand right now? So think practically on how to approach them. Do you understand now? So once you know how to approach all these things, then you know that the code are just to speed up things. And if you go on YouTube, there are different channels you see on YouTube. But once you have roadmap and you start practicing with different questions, then you need to start identifying where you think you are lacking. Do you understand now? So, for example, now, in some places, you know how to select from. So, the next thing is that if you have a problem, you want to filter out some things. How do you filter? You know how to filter in Excel. So, how do I do the same thing in SQL? So, once you start having the thought process, once you start having that thought process, you start identifying the code that would actually do what you want to do for you. So, because you can't memorize it, I need to be very honest with you, you can't memorize everything. But you have to have an understanding of how everything works. So, for example, what I've been explaining today now. So, let me show you what I've just been explaining today now, and I will show you the understanding of everything. So, I have the data set, and I see that, okay, there will be duplicates in the data set. So, in Excel, what I can do is that I can maybe visually go into it and pick it one by one. Let me run this for you so that you see what I'm trying to explain. So I can visually pick everything one by one. If you see, can you see this row number? Sorry, let me order it again so that I'll just explain what I'm trying to say. You see this row number 6. I'm not sure if you can see it.
I can see it.
So if you look at row number 6 and row number 7, they are actually duplicates. And how do I know they are duplicates? It's because the date of admission, the date of discharge, they are the same for the 2 rows. And it's belonging to the same person. So that might have been a data quality issue. Do you understand right now? So I know that in Excel, as I've identified this now in Excel, I can put 1 in front of it and put 2 in front of this one. That is, I have 2 records that are the same. So are you getting the thought process now? I have 2 records that are the same. So if I have that, that means I need to go over all these things, which is not possible to take me time. So that is why SQL is there. So the thing I would now tell SQL is that there's what we call window function. So if I don't know about window function before, with the advent of AI now, I can just Google search and say, how do I identify duplicates in SQL? I write a SQL code for me to identify duplicates. So definitely to bring out this window function. I don't know this. You can ask it to explain it to you better. But you are not cramming it. You are just understanding it. You get the point now. You are not cramming it. You are just understanding it. Because in the real world, when you start working, nobody's going to sit you down and ask you, okay, this code you have here now, be writing it for me. They will just give you tasks. So your own is to get it done. And how you get it done is by, even before the advent of ChatGPT, there's something we call Stack Overflow. So you go to Stack Overflow, you search different things, you see people that will give different ideas and answer to questions you have. So the point is that have a thought process on how you get things done, then look for the code that would achieve that things for you. Do you understand now? So that is the way I do my own. I have a thought process. I already know that, okay, for me to get this done, I'll need to input 1, 1, 1, 1 in front of everything. And at the long run, if I'm putting 1 in front of this, I'm putting 2 in the next one. So then when I'm trying to identify them, it will be easy for me that way to see. You get now, it will be easy for me to see the duplicate. And after that, I need to store everything into a virtual table. Storing it into a virtual table, then I can select the ones that are not duplicate from there. So do you get it in your gist now?
Yes, sir.
So that is how it works. You can't learn everything or you can't cram. So you just need to keep, getting better. And from there, you go to Kaggle. If you go to Kaggle, Kaggle is one of the best places to see data sets. Go to Kaggle, just, interact with it and you get better.
Kaggle data sets are usually clean.
And most of the time they are usually clean. But once you check them, like I said, this is from Kaggle. And it's just a bit. The only thing that is just different here is that there's no transformation. Maybe the data and everything are okay, but there's still duplicates, which is, you can say it's a bit dirty. So thank you so much for the gift, Fefe. Thank you so much. So there are other places too that you can get data sets. Like I think the name is Data World, which is a bit dirty. You get a bit of dirty data there, and there's UC Data. I can't remember the name of the website. If I see it, I will send it again. I will do a video about it. So there's UC Data or something like that, where you can get data that are very dirty. But the point is that whether you get something dirty, whether you get something clean, have a thought process on how you want to get things done. That's just the point. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. So Opelua, you've joined again, or I think somebody is trying to send me a request. I don't know the name of the person.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I just want to know, when it comes to portfolio project, so how are you able to identify that, okay, this is a good project I want to work on? Because for me personally, I think a lot of things cross my mind, and I feel I can't do everything. How do you identify that, oh, this is a good one to work on all of them?
Yeah, for portfolio projects, the way to identify that is that usually the first thing I used to tell people is that, do you have an industry you are targeting? So if you have an industry you are targeting, so let's say, for example, you are targeting healthcare. So it's better you start looking for healthcare projects. Do you understand now? And one of the ways you can do that is ask ChatGPT to give you some of the projects you can do. For example, just maybe give me an example of dashboard I can build in healthcare settings. So once you ask that question, you then tell him what are the columns or features do I need to target in the data set that I'll be using. Because, for example, you can go online and search for healthcare data. If you go to Kaggle now, you see a lot of healthcare data. But most of them might not have. What I'm doing now, I'm trying to see daily discharge. I'm trying to do something about daily discharge, average length of stay, which this data set has columns or features that will allow me to do it. So this is duration of stay. I can say, okay, how long are people staying in an hospital? Do you understand now? So the other thing again you can do is that if you are not sure where to get data sets, you can maybe ask ChatGPT to generate data set for you and make it like it's about prompting. You can tell it to generate data for you and make it dirty as possible. So it will generate the data for you, but most of the time, I don't really buy the idea of ChatGPT generating data for you, because it will make you lazy. So sometimes in the real world, you need to go out and find data. So, by trying to do all those things by yourself, when you start working, it won't be a problem. It won't be difficult for you to get things like that done. So that is it. And again, if you go on LinkedIn, you follow some people that are into data analytics, you see the project they have done, you can peep into their portfolio, you can see the project they have done, and you can try to do something better. For example, now, if you look at this data, even looking at this data now, we can do something on readmission. This data now that I'm doing something about the discharge. Do you understand now? It has admission dates. I can look at, okay, can I do something on readmission? Do you understand now? So those are the ways you'll be looking at data sets. And by another way you can even get better again is that if you have Medium, there's this site called Medium. You can go on Medium also. And from there you get better with things like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, for all those projects, can you decide that, okay, just to show your skills, can you decide to do, okay, for this one I want to use just Excel and Power BI, then another one I just want to use SQL and Power BI and like that. So how do you combine the tools to build your project?
Yes, for example, you have already said what you want to do. So in some places you can decide that you are using only Power BI. In some places you can decide that you are only using Excel. So the only tools the tools that you can use alone are really Excel and SQL Server. Do you understand now? You can do something in Excel, and you can even build dashboard in Excel. Do you understand now? SQL Server, you can just, put your code in thought process, like as I'm doing now. I can do some analysis here. What is the number of what is the distribution of gender, male and female? What is the average age? I can do something like that in SQL Server and put the code somewhere. Do you understand right now? But the Power BI is for visualization. That is, you are building a dashboard. Dashboard is combination of different reports. And most of the time, when you are working in the real life, it's the way you'll be using Excel is usually when you have maybe other organization trying to request your data, or you want to send data to other organization. Do you understand now? So that is the way you'll be using the SQL Server. Oh, sorry, the Excel file. That is the way you'll be using the Excel file. So most of the time, you are not going to build, because the point of dashboard is that it has to be refreshing to get the latest data. So just take a look at, for example, we have our bank statement and everything like that. So if you open your bank now, they won't send you an Excel file to say, okay, this is what you have here today. So you want to open your bank account, you want to see the transaction in real life. So that is the meaning of dashboard. All those things are working in real life. Do you understand now? So, like I said, it's not like you're not going to use Excel, but it will just show that you can actually use Excel. Though that is the way the old stuff will look like. You can actually use Excel, but you can also streamline it, build some things in Excel, build some things in Power BI, build something in SQL, just to showcase that you have this knowledge.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So do I have anybody with any question again?
Hi, brother Yusuf. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I don't know why the stuff keep choking me out, but I'm trying to see.
Yeah, I've accepted several times. I don't know why it's just not connecting. I can't hear you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's clearer now.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just curious. Why you not on STEM?
Why am I not on where?
Why are you not on STEM? Why?
I don't think I get the question.
Yeah, because you're something relating to technology. You should be posting your stuff on the STEM.
Okay, yes, I know the section of TikTok, so I just felt like it will probably, streamline some videos to STEM, or I'm not sure you have to do that yourself.
No.
Very good evening.
Yeah, good
I don't
evening.
know why it's taking me out of your page, but yeah, TikTok.
Yeah.
Just post your stuff on the
Dublin, Manchester.
Yeah.
Because I want to. I just run to your and see your live from FIP, and I joined.
Okay,
I'm actually interested in this data analysis.
okay.
This analysis, and seeing you teaching it here, it's something very nice, and I appreciate it. I wanted to ask, are you just starting, or have you been doing it? I want to know.
Yeah, I just started teaching this stuff online right now. So this is the first session where I'll be teaching from getting the data from Kaggle, bringing it to SQL, and from SQL to Power BI. So for now, I will be stopping on this SQL. So the next one, which I'll be coming tomorrow, I'll be doing the Power BI part of it.
Oh, okay. Because what time? Would it become like every day or
No,
just
it's not every day, but there'll be an announcement on my page when I'll be coming. So it's usually going to be 9 in the evening. So, but there'll be an announcement, and I'm trying to be consistent because I also have a day job, and so trying to,
okay?
combine that to the day job. So if there's time for me, I'm working on getting time and being consistent. So that's it.
Okay, man. Thanks. Anyway, thanks in advance, anyways. For me, it's really not easy, honestly. I can't wait. I can't wait to be a part of this.
Yeah. So if you follow my page, definitely when I'm live, you get a notification that I'm live, and you
I
see
did
that.
already. I followed you already.
Yes.
Why the first moment?
Yes. So is
Thanks, bro.
okay. Okay. So Dan Pop, how are you?
Hi,
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
fine. Thank you for putting this up. Really appreciate you. My struggle is, those interviews that you go for that, sorry, that's on SQL,
Yes.
and they will tell you to generate it, just giving you the code. I struggle with it.
Okay.
So I don't know how to be better with that. Like, I know the syntaxes, like they select from where and all that. But when you give me like a code and they will ask me, oh, what result will this generate? I struggle with that.
Okay. Okay. So it's just about understanding how to read the way SQL actually execute code. You understand right now? So, and another thing is that with the way you've present your question, it shows that you've not really got, maybe, I'm not sure you are at intermediate level already in your SQL
No.
journey. So that's one of the things. So if you're a beginner, you only understand select statement, select from, which is just the beginning of everything. So there are different things that how will I put it? There are different codes. There are advanced code in SQL, but everything builds on each other. And I use the concept of Excel when I'm writing SQL code. I use the concept of Excel. Do you understand right now? So this concept of Excel is that what I want to do in Excel, I can actually do it in SQL, but it's just by writing the code in what works in SQL. So, for example, if you take some project on Kaggle and try to see what question you can do. So, what you can do is that manipulate it in what you want to do, manipulate it in Excel. So once you have the results you need in Excel, then go to SQL again and start working your thought flow, your thought process that you use in Excel. So for example, if you look at what we have done here now, we have only said, okay, we want to select everything. We know if we select from order by, we know what it will do for us. The next thing is that, okay, what changes are we trying to make again? And how can we make that changes? So your level now, you just need to add more knowledge to it. That is the only way to get better. Because if you are just doing the surface Excel surface SQL, in the real world is more than just surface. So that is why you see the code I'm using here now. I'm not trying to just downplay it and bring something surface or something like that, because it's like what they teach in bootcamp is different from, it's just like classroom and exam. You see what they teach in classroom is different from what they will ask you in exam. So that is the way it is in the real world. What they teach in bootcamp is different from what they teach in what you get in your workflow, in your work environment. So the only thing you can do now is that start practicing. Start practicing. So once you try to have an advanced issue, then with the advent of AI, you can talk to AI and AI will give you what should be the result. So from there, you can then look at the process after the order. Look at what the process is saying. So for example, now, can you see the code I have on the screen?
No, actually, your screen is black here. I could barely see anything.
Really?
Yeah, except I will leave my brain back. Maybe it's just my own network.
I'm not sure where it's coming from.
Hold on, let me just leave my own brain.
So all other people can see my screen. I don't know why you can't see my screen. You can't see it. Okay, you can see it. So let me just explain to you. Okay. So
Okay, I can see it now.
yes. So this code now,
Yeah.
the thought process is that we wrote the one inside the bracket first because of what we wanted to do. We wrote the one inside the brackets first, and what the one inside the brackets is doing is that if you read the select from, can you read the select from? It's selecting everything.
Select all.
Yes, and it added this row number, which is going to count each row and give us and assign a number to it, and we have named it number of duplicates. Do you understand now? We have named it number of
From
duplicates.
admission data.
Yes, we have named it number of duplicates. So what this would do is that if there's a duplicate, it would name it 1, 2. That's showing 2 duplicates. If it is 3, 1, 2, 3. So that is what that code is going to do. So I know that that is what I'm achieving right now. That is what will give me. So the next thing is that I want to now take only the original record. I don't want the duplicate. I want the original record. So what's that? Let me run this so that you'll be seeing the process, how it is happening. So if I do this, so you can see that in one of the records, at the end, we have 1, we have 2. So it shows that this record and this record, one of them is duplicate. The second one, I don't need it because that's a duplicate. The second one, I don't need it because that's a duplicate. So, but all these results that it has generated for me now, I need to put them somewhere so that I will then start extracting the ones that I need. So how do I do that? To do that in SQL Server, I need to create a virtual table. If I want to do that in Excel, I need to then, create another sheet in Excel.
Sheet.
Do you understand right now?
Is this virtual table the same as view?
No. It's different from view.
Okay.
The difference between them is that view is storing on the system. Virtual table, you are not storing anything.
Okay.
Do you understand? And this one, I'm not saving it anywhere. I'm saving it virtually. So instead of, in Excel, I'll create another sheet. But in SQL Server, I need to create a virtual sheet. So I'm not creating a table entirely on the system. So to do that, what I will now do is that I use what we call common table expression, which is CTE. We call it CTE. And this is the way you write it. You write it, the keyword starts with the keyword with. Then I need to name it. I need to give it a name. So after that, it will come as, you put the as and open bracket. So what will be inside it is the record. This particular record, this one has given me. That's what will be inside it. So inside that table now, the next thing I will now do is that I will now select everything inside that table. I said that the name of that table, the virtual table, the name is check duplicate. You can see that I'm selecting from check duplicate, where number of duplicates is equals to 1. That means I've excluded where the duplicate will be. Do you understand right now? And I'm also excluding, and MRD, I'm also excluding the null in this value. This is null now. This one, when I run it, this is what we have. We have null.
Yeah.
So I don't need this null. So I will ignore it where this medical record number is not null. So the next thing is order by medical record number. So I'm still ordering everything by medical record number. So the problem now is that if I run this code now, it will give an error. And if it gives an error, it will tell me where the error is. Let me run it and you'll see. You see now that it's giving an error. It said the order by clause is invalid in views. So this is creating a virtual table. It's thinking it is a view, but it is not storing. So then I have to then remove the order by inside this virtual table that I've created. So just comment it out. If I run it again, it will then give me the result that I want. So what this will then do is that remove the number of duplicates and remove the ones that are not null. Do you understand now? So once you start practicing and use the concept of Excel. If I want to do this in Excel, how am I going to do it? Use that concept, bring it to SQL Server, and then you start understanding what will be the end product of each report or each code that you are running.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. So is there any question again so that we just wrap this up and we'll come back tomorrow to come and do our Power BI? So do you teach data analytics from scratch? Not really. I have a YouTube video where I upload all those things. So, but I don't teach one-on-one. I just teach mass, or I upload on YouTube and you go watch it from there. So Boss said, Joseph, what does over partition mean? So over partition, the way it works is that this row number, we call it window function in SQL. So the meaning of window function is that it will go over each row one by one. It will go over each row one by one. So you then, the meaning of over is that you tell it the column to look into. Do you understand now? You tell it the column to look into. So partition by, so that is where you now put partition by. That is, we are going through this everything one by one, but we want to put into perspective. We are putting 3 columns into perspective, because I was explaining how do you identify duplicates in this data set. The way for us to identify duplicate in this data set is to combine it, the medical record number, the date of admission, and the date of discharge. So it is possible that we have multiple record numbers for different records. But what is not possible is that we should have the same date of admission and discharge for different records. So that is duplicate. So that is the work of partition by. We are partitioned by these 3 columns to see what difference is in these 3 columns. So if there's any difference between these 3 things, so it will turn to number of duplicates. It will turn to number of duplicates. So my YouTube handle is 9 to 5 data. 9 to 5 data. So do you have any question, guys? Does anybody wants to ask any question? Any question, guys? So if there's no question, then we have to call it a day, because I don't want to jump into Power BI. It will be overloading. So can we learn from scratch? What we have tonight, the video of tonight's live will be on my YouTube channel. So I'll put it on the YouTube channel so that people can watch and then they can, do some catch up and then join us when we are doing the Power BI. So can I run a query on a live database? It depends on the settings your system, your organization have. Do you understand now? It depends on the settings your organization has. So sometimes there should be 2 databases. There should be operational database and there should be the one for just analytical database. Do you understand now? Operational database is the one that have all the activities that is going on, your business activities that is going on. Your analytical database are the ones that from your operational database, the data will then go to your analytical database. So you can make mistake on your analytical database and you then get it back from your operational database. If you delete anything from operational database, you are putting your company into allow. So imagine you work for an airline company now and people have booked for airline, they are booked for flight and everything. You now have access to that database, and because you are trying to run the data, you are a query, it's not working for you, you click on delete. So you have delete people's flight details and everything like that, which is not possible to get again. So in a real system, they won't allow you to have access to the live database. There's what we call analytical database and operational database. They are 2 separate things. So there are two separate things. So any other question, guys? So if there's no question, so thanks to everyone that have joined the live and supported the live. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. So I'll see. Just search for 9 to 5 data, or if you click on my bio, you see the link to the. If you click on my bio, you see the link to the YouTube. So it is 9 to 5 data. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone that have supported. We'll see you tomorrow. So thank you so much.